Hi everybody, Rob here, after the fact. Just before Sven and I started recording this episode, I was called away on an emergency, so in this lightning round, Sven goes it alone until I made it back towards the end of the show. Please enjoy.
From the New York City area, welcome to the Badass Counseling Show, where the master badass himself, Sven Erlandson, takes you deep and gives balm for the soul, baby.
I am ready to start answering your questions. Great to have everyone here. Also, right here on Facebook and on TikTok. Here we go. Allison is in the house with Nebraska. So we're taking people's questions here. Q Vine asked the question, can I get an annulment without proof of fraud and mental illness? You are asking the wrong questions, Divine. That is a legal question. I do not answer legal questions because I'm not a lawyer and I'm an absolute moron when it comes to the law. You need to, it's probably a quick Google search in your state. All right, next question. I'm taking people's questions. And over here on Facebook, I've got someone asking the question, how do I get away from a narcissist? Narcissist questions, common ones to ask. How do you get away from a narcissist? The same way you get away from anybody else, except you have to be stronger, you have to be bolder, and you have to stand up for yourself. Do not back down. Do not back down, because when you back down, they will capitalize on that. They will seize that opportunity to take advantage of you, to hurt you, that sort of thing. And you have to hold your boundaries, and you get help wherever you can get help, such as legal and family and friends and so forth. All right, next question. Here we go. Biker Mama, 23 on TikTok, asked the question, I met a great guy and I want to run. Why can't I relax and enjoy this season? Okay. You meet a great person and you want to run. Common problem for a lot of people. Why do we want to run? It scares us. Something about the idea of going further in is scaring you, Biker Mama, who asked this question. And in all likelihood, the fear is that I will have to open up. And there's something about open up that terrifies you. Now, often it's the idea of opening up and then you're going to see who I really am. And if you see who I really am, you're going to see that I'm shit inside, right? In all likelihood, you're terrified of him seeing who you are because you've been taught to believe that you're shit inside, that you're no good. And so it's easier and better to leave him now in your head. Leave him now than be left by him later. See, it's one thing, you guys, to, you know how you put on a persona in life, right? Or if you've been hurt or abused as a child, guess what you do? You put on a persona to try to get attention, however the hell you can get attention, okay? And then the thing about putting on a persona is even if you get rejected for who you're trying to be in life, this persona, this image that you're putting out there, if you get rejected for that, it hurts. But it's far less painful than putting your authentic self out there and getting rejected for your authentic self. So you can't relax and enjoy it, Biker Mama. Biker Mama's question was, I met a great guy and I want to run. Why can't I relax and enjoy this season? Because you are motherfucking terrified of showing him who you really are and him rejecting you for your authentic self. And at some point, you want to know what breaks that cycle? And we go through that cycle. Do you want to know what eventually breaks that cycle? Where the pain of never fully connecting, the pain of not having the relationships you want, the pain of losing yet another person or walking away from yet another person, the pain gets so bad that it cracks you open. And you're forced to face that shit inside. And you're forced to flush out the pain, the fears, the bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. And you're forced to begin to open up just a little bit. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do, Biker Mama. Open up just a little bit and see how they respond. Reveal just a little bit of yourself. And if it's met with supple hands, so to speak, a supple spirit, someone who is embracing and welcoming of who you are, open up a little bit more. And do they open up a little bit in response? Show you a bit of them. Now you're in a relationship. Now we're slowly building, rock by rock, little brick by little brick, opening up a little bit more. You don't have to pour it all out there all at once. Just start small. All right, next question. Huge problem with little mistakes lately. What's up with me? Forgetting things, losing things. The mere fact that you are not chalking that up to, gee, I've just been forgetful. You're saying huge problem with little mistakes lately. What's up with me? I'm forgetting things. I'm losing things. Your brain is being sidetracked by something else. You're full of something else. I don't mean you're full of shit per se at all. I mean that you're somewhere in you, you are being consumed by something. Now, it may be something you're very conscious of that's going on in your life immediately right now, or there's something your soul is calling to address something. And as a result, something inside of you is absorbed with what's going on inside of you, calling for your attention to look at, to begin to go into. In all likelihood, it's shit from your past. And the reason you're missing out on all these things going on around you, or you're forgetting your keys, or you're, God damn, where's my phone? I'm always losing my phone, right? My girlfriend has that. Sven, where's my phone? I don't know. It's like, oh, check your other hand, honey. And so your body is consumed and yourself is consumed. And until you go into those issues, until you go in and ask yourself the question, literally in your journaling, write down the question, what is my soul asking me? What am I being called to look at? What the fuck is really going on inside of me? Ask yourself that question and then begin to speculate answers. Begin to draw in new pieces of information. What might it be? What might be going on? And then journal the fuck out of that. Just start journaling on what might be going on in your life. All right. Next question. DOA asks the question, how do you build trust in a relationship when you've been through the ringer with liars in the past? How do you build trust in a relationship when you've been through the ringer with liars in the past? In other words, what you are saying in this situation is you're not able to build trust in this relationship because of the other person. You're admitting it's because I have had liars in the past. In other words, I am having trouble trusting. You didn't say it's because, I'm with this guy, Paul, and Paul's just always kind of fucking lying to me. I don't always trust him. You make no mention. So you may be in a relationship with an actually good person. Have you ever done that? Any of you guys ever done that? Where you're in a relationship with somebody who's a good person, and yet you're struggling to open up, you're struggling to trust, right? Right, because it's you. I'm my own fucking problem in this case. And you even specifically state, I love what you say here, DOA. You specifically state, how do you build trust in a relationship when you've been through the ringer with liars in the past? In other words, my past, these fuckers who lied to me in the past are causing me to distrust this person now who's a perfectly lovely person. What that means is you have not fully addressed that pain that was done to you in the past. You've got to go into, and what I would honestly recommend to you, I swear to God, go into, and I know this sounds tedious. I don't give a fuck. Do you want a great relationship or not? Do you want a real relationship? Then do this shit. Take out a fucking piece of paper and start bullet point listing every single memory you have, large, medium, or small, every single memory you have from every single relationship where you got hurt, every single memory where you remember being lied to. And then next to each of those bullet points, split out what are all the feelings you feel attached to that memory. Anger, sadness, distrust, betrayal, rage, hatred, whatever it is, melancholy. And journal about that. Well, why am I feeling melancholy? Well, it just made me blue because I felt so unaccepted and I felt rejected and I felt like I couldn't trust. And so I withdrew into myself. Just flush. Journal. Write letters that you do not send. Write letters that you do not send. Do not send. Write those letters to the people who have wronged you and do not send them. Why? There's no point. It's not to get something from them. It's to flush out of you all the shit you want to say to them. You motherfucker, you fucking lied to me. God damn it, that hurt. Why did you do that to me? I'm so mad at you, even still, 3 years later, or whatever it is, 20 years later. And the more you flush that out, it is out of you. People, until the pain is out of you, it is still in you. Do you get that? You can try to stuff it down. You can try to deny it. No, I just want to focus on the happy things and my gratitude list and bullshit. I'm all for gratitude list, but it doesn't solve the problem by just focusing on the good because you still have the bad in there. You're just trying to distract yourself. And at times we need that reprieve. We need to be reminded of the good in our lives, but that's not a solution. It's a coping mechanism. It's a reminder. Okay. So you got to go in, and the more you flush that shit out, the more you'll be able to be present to this person today. If you can't trust today, because of these past relationships, you got to flush out all the memories and all the pain regarding that and all the things you want to say to those people and flush it out, and the more you'll be present today. And then bit by bit, you'll open up a little bit and then watch how they respond. And then maybe they open up and they accept you, that little piece that you open up, then open up a little bit more and a little bit more. So you can be going on the theme of trust today. Theme of trust. So what is next? What have we got? We've got plenty of themes. I'm taking questions on anything, but we seem to have gotten those. Thorny Rose asks the question, can hypnotherapy tell whether what you see is real or not? I'm going to be very honest with you. I have studied some hypnotherapy. I have used a hypnotherapist more than once in my past. I'm a fan of it to some degree. I don't know a lot about it. For me to say, can hypnotherapy tell you what you see is real or not? I'm not in a position to comment on that. I don't know. That's up to you and your experience. Am I a fan of trying hypnotherapy to see if it has effect, to see if you have a practitioner who can help you with what you want? Yes, I'm definitely a fan of trying that and see. But you've got to read yourself. Don't let somebody talk you into it. All right? If it feels right to you, if you feel you got something out of it, go for it. I think that's fantastic. For many years, when I was quite young, in my early 20s, I was teaching myself self-hypnosis. And I was using that. And at times, I still do use it. For different things. It's very rare, but I do still use it. So yeah, I'm a fan of checking it out and see. But as far as can it help you determine what you see is real or not, I'm in no position to comment on that. I'm not the person to ask. All right. Next question. Inlet Lady asked the question, what is your take on narcissism? Is it innate? Is it learned? Is it a blend? And then the follow-up is, through care, can they heal? What's my take on narcissism? Now, those of you who follow me know that I don't use the term narcissist. I don't. I think it's trite. I think it's overused. It helps give people a language for what they're experiencing. And for that reason, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. It helps some people. And I think that's great. But as far as clinical diagnosis, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not the person to make that call. However, I know the origins of narcissism. And of course, it's from the poet Ovid from thousands of years ago. And so this has been around long before psychology sort of took it and ran with it. All right. So what's my take on extreme takers? Is it innate? Is it learned? Is it a blend? I'll be very, very honest with you. From where I sit, 30 years soul counselor of people, I'm an absolute believer that it's fucking taught. It's taught. And it's not taught necessarily by teaching someone, okay, now you should take everything from everyone and suck the life out of everyone. No. Fundamentally, it's a child trying to get their needs met. Trying to get their needs for love, for attention, for love met. And when the child isn't getting those met, or when the child is being OD'd on it can be by them being the golden child or them being neglected in some sort, not getting their needs met, they will engage in behavior patterns to try to get their needs met. Okay? And remember, even a golden child, you think they have it sweet, but they're not allowed to be their authentic self either. A golden child is conditioned that you will learn very easily and very quickly. You'll be rewarded for what I want you to do, for what makes me, the parent, happy. And so the golden child isn't living an authentic life. And they're realizing the only way they get positive attention, love, is by doing what is wanted from them. And they feed on that positive attention. And so oftentimes, because they want it so badly, they'll manipulate people to get it. The person who's neglected or doesn't get the love growing up is trying to get the love, just like every one of us. And I had a client on the show. It was, I want to say it was March 23rd of 23, where we had both a narcissist, a recovering narcissist, and a male and a woman who had been with a narcissist for a long time. They didn't know each other. And it was a brilliant show, March 23rd of 2023. Go back and listen to that episode. And I believe that was the fella that said, Sven, when I was 8 years old, that's when I started acting this way. 8 motherfucking years old. His needs weren't being met. And he just began to manipulate people even at 8 years old. Can you believe that shit? It's true. Go back. Listen to the episode. It's a powerful episode. So the point is, the original question is, Sven, what is your take on narcissism? Is it innate? Is it learned? Or is it a blend? I'm an absolute believer that it's absolutely fucking learned. It's not even learned. It's conditioned. The child is trying to figure out a way to get their needs met. And then they find a very effective way, and that is to suck the life out of other people. And then the inlet lady, the person who asked this question, follows up with, though rare, can they heal? Yes, absolutely. And I've worked with narcissists who have come out of it, but you want to know what it requires? It's not just wanting to. What it requires is pain, extreme pain. Because if you're getting all your needs met by this pattern of behavior of sucking life out of other people, using other people, taking advantage of other people, and it's been working for years or even decades, you have no incentive to change because it works. It's shitty, don't get me wrong, but it works. So why the fuck would they change? They're only going to change if they experience severe pain. And more often than not, it's the pain of some sort of loss. And it may not be the loss of you. And that's the scorching part. That you may leave that spouse and she may still not want you. It still may not be enough to rock her world to change. She may not come running after you, or he may not. Okay? It may be what often happens in the case of marriages and where there are kids and stuff, often, not always, and sometimes this isn't even enough, Often it's when your own children don't want you anymore. They get to be 35 and they walk away. They get to be whatever, and they don't want you, or they don't want you near their children because they fear you harming their children. And I don't mean physically. I mean with all your, extreme taker bullshit. So can a person heal? Yes, but only after they've had their ass kicked by life. And they've been broken down and they realize, I don't like this anymore. I want to change. And that they're sort of on their knees. Life has broken them and broken them down to their knees, and they need help, and they're ready to change. But it requires then going into the deep shit from the past of all the pain of when they weren't getting their needs met. And see, this is the make or break point for anybody in any sort of counseling. Do you have the balls to go into the dirty, nasty, ugly, scary shit from your past and really look at it and begin to pull it out of that vault that you've kept all your feelings and all your pain locked down in? And that's the question for anyone in therapy. Do you have the courage to do it? Marissa asked the question, sort of a follow-up to that one. How do you stop feeling guilty after a breakup from an extreme taker? Right? It's the same way you don't stop per se, is you flush it out. You do your fucking journaling. You talk to your therapist, you talk to your counselor, you talk to your friends, and you keep talking about it. You keep journaling it out. You write letters to the person that you broke up with to protect yourself, to save your own life. You write letters that you do not send. And you write those letters and you keep flushing out. I feel so guilty. I feel so bad. How are you? Gosh, are you doing okay? I feel bad for your feelings. I feel like, but it may not even be that you feel bad towards that person. You may feel bad from your conditioning as a child that you're not allowed to do what's in your best interest. See, now we're getting down into the deep shit. And if you feel guilty towards that person, it's still likely conditioned by the shit you feel from your past, that you are conditioned to believe that your feelings don't fucking matter, right? That you standing up for yourself isn't okay. It's always got to be about other people's feelings. So now we're getting down into the real fucking healing. Now we're getting down in the real shit of when you take that back into the past. All right, next question. Here we go. Allison, then one more on this narcissism, then we're going to bump to a different topic, all right? Allison asked the question, what's the fastest way to rewire the nervous system post-narc divorce when your energy and self-esteem to do so is zero? Your energy and self-esteem in any situation, if they are at zero or if they are low, it's because you're being dragged down from heavy shit from inside. No amount of pumping in happy stuff, happy experiences, happy memories, happy people, happy movies, that'll feel good in the moment, but it won't solve the problem. In other words, you can't get rid of pain by pumping in happy, by pumping in fun. That doesn't get rid of the pain. It's a Band-Aid, and it's nice, and we need those reprieves now and then, but the only way you get it out is by getting it out, by going into the pain. So Allison says, what's the fastest way to rewire my nervous system post-narcissist divorce, after a divorce from a narcissist, when my energy and self-esteem to do so is zero? Well, the fastest way really almost isn't the question. The only way, there's only one way. At some point, I've had people do EMDR and ARM or something, and they have great success. But a lot of times they come back to me 9 months, a year later, or people doing ayahuasca retreats or using ketamine or whatever. And, I don't talk about any of that. I don't address that. That is not my field. But I get people coming to me saying, I've sort of gone back to where I was, right? Because the pain isn't out of you yet. The fastest way is the slowest way is the only way. And that is you've got to start flushing out all that pain. You've got to go into the very pain you don't want to. And basically you're saying, I don't have the energy to do so. That's okay, Allison. It's okay. There's no rush. But the point is going to come where the pain of living this way, in this depressed state, in this heavy state, where you have no energy to do something, the pain, and it's not necessarily a physical shooting, acute pain. It's not a dull, throbbing pain. It can just come from, I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of it. I'm finally ready. And then the energy comes. Pain can have the power to give us courage. Pain can have the power to give us energy to finally do something we've been avoiding, because I'm so fucking sick of being dragged down by this shit going on inside of me. I want to go in. I want to start flushing it the fuck out, where you're just so fucking sick of it. And it's not going to happen until that happens. Until you're just being fucking sick of it, Allison, of sitting in this crap post-divorce and having no energy and no self-esteem. Eventually it's going to get bad enough. You're going to be like, fuck it. I got to go in. I got to start doing it. And all you got to do is just get a motherfucking piece of paper and a pen and just start writing about what you're feeling, what you're thinking. And even if it's 2 sentences, great. That's a good start for today. Come back to it tomorrow or a few days later. And maybe write a paragraph, what you're really feeling today, what you're really thinking about. I'm so sick of feeling this way. I'm so sick of feeling this way. Even if it's just that. Or my ex is a fucking asshole. My ex is a fucking asshole. My ex is great. Start with that. Start all your thoughts, all your feelings. Oh God, I got to remember to pick up my dry cleaning on Tuesday. Great. Write that out too. Everything. Just start the flushing. And the more you do that, the more you get out the crud, the lighter you become.
And now a word from Sven about Community Plus.
Are you longing to feel connected and not so alone? Longing to be happy and more alive? Badass Counseling is excited to announce the creation of Community Plus, a subscription-based private group of folks just wanting to more closely share their soul journey together with like-minded folks and with me, Sven. For a monthly fee, you'll get bi-monthly live Q&As with me, Sven, giving you a better chance of getting your own questions answered. A private community feed for you to post pictures, successes, struggles, joys, even the occasional cat picture, creating greater connection and help for healing and growth. Random drawings for free small group sessions and drawings for private coaching sessions with me. Priority access to becoming a guest on the Badass Counseling Show podcast. Unlimited access to my DIY video courses, Healing the Soul and Unleashing Your Greatness. And so much more. Community Plus is for people serious about their soul journey who want real growth, real help, real laughter, real connection, and true community. Join us now at badasscounseling.com.
This show provides soul counseling intended to entertain and inform and is not medical advice. Now, back to the badass.
All right. Awoken Photography UK asks the question, how do I deal with severe anxious attachment at the level where I can't determine if paranoia or not? You do it by what's driving that? What's driving anxiety? Anxiety is another word for fear. It's in the fear family. So you have severe fear. So what you need to be doing with your therapist or on your own, and all of my tools, all of my books, there's a hole in my love cup especially, and the workbook, and my other book, Badass Wisdom, the do-it-yourself video courses, everything, this free podcast, the free Badass Counseling group. All of my tools are for one reason, to help you heal. Now, either to augment therapy you're doing, or you're working with a clergy person, or just the regular conversations you're having with your best friend, or for you to do on your own, okay? But at some point, Awoken Photography UK, who asked this question of how to deal with severe anxious attachment, at some point you're gonna have to go into that fear. And you're gonna have to begin to name your fears. Naming the beast is half the problem. Naming the beast is half the problem. And then it's talking about, flushing out, getting up all your feelings about your fears. You have tremendous fear in this attachment. Fear of the person leaving you, fear of the person not loving you. And you have to keep flushing that out. Fear, you say, at the level where I can't determine if it's paranoia or not. If you feel the need to get professional mental health treatment, God bless you. I say go for it, right? But remember, you named it. You said it's severe anxious, right? That's fear. And fear ruins everything. There's really no more powerful motivator in life than fear. It even can be, and very often, too often, is more powerful than love. I don't mean just love of another person, love of self, love of a path, love of a career, love of geography, love of whatever. Fear has the greatest power to undermine your life. And until you begin to name your motherfucking fears, and write about them more and more and flush them out, until you do that, your fears are going to fucking own your shit. And so that's not just for you asking the question, that's for all of us. How much, to ask yourself the question, to what degree are fears undermining your very joy? And do you have the courage to go into those? All right. Sweet Jennifer says, I absolutely love that my therapist uses EMDR and brain spotting to help address what's going on. I think that's fantastic, Jennifer. That's great. But the task is still that you have to go into that. You still have to go in and begin to address those things and dig out your feelings and so forth. Oh, here's a good one. Libra girl. What do you do when there is no depth in a marriage, when he isn't, and she puts in quotes, deep? So, hi Sven, what do you do when there's no depth in a marriage, when he isn't, quote unquote, deep? Please help. That's a tough one. I'm going to be very honest with you, okay? I don't believe, I know it because she said it. My mother struggled with this with my father. My father, one of the greatest guys you'll ever meet. Innocent man, didn't have, he wasn't a prideful man. He wasn't hurtful. He was sensitive to other people's feelings and never hurt people. You know, I used to say he's a man with no sin, which of course doesn't exist, but he's as close, just a good, honest, decent, kind man. But to the frustration of some of his 6 kids and to the immense frustration of his wife at times over their 70 years together, whatever it was, when they both died in their 90s, Dad wasn't deep. He just wasn't. He was World War II generation, born in 1928. Dad wasn't deep. And it was hard as a kid of Dad's. We all knew Dad loved us. And Dad would he'd slip a $10 bill in your pocket, which back in the 70s or the 80s, even the 90s, $10 was $10. That was some dough. He'd do it. He didn't have a lot of money. He was a pastor. And then I did his last 10, 15 years at the VA hospital as a chaplain, Veterans Hospital. He didn't have a lot of money, but he'd slip, say he was caring, he was loving, he cared. But you never felt, it was rare that you felt connected to him at a deep level. And it's frustrating when you really want to get close to your father, or in Mom's case, your husband. And Mom was the single deepest person I've ever met in my life. Makes me look like a fucking wading pool. Right? Profoundly difficult for her, frustrating to the soul. But she was old school. You stay with it and you work it out. And she said, despite what the surface waters are, down deep, there's love between your father and me. And we both are committed to each other, but we both love each other and so forth. And it's a beautiful thing. That's that generation and so forth. But the frustration is immense. What do? She got her needs met through other people. Dear friends of hers, one of her friends, Lorraine Bergstrand, and another woman, Mrs. Rains, and some others, deep people. She had a spiritual director, a spiritual counselor, soul counselor that she worked with where she could go deep. She had deep conversations with a couple of her children. I was one of them. And to somewhat satisfy her need for depth, but it was always longing in that relationship. And I know that was perhaps one of her greatest life frustrations, was being in a marriage where she just wasn't, where she didn't feel understood, heard, and where she was sort of having to play at a lower level of marriage, of life, of relationship. And it was a struggle for her. I know it was. And so you ask the question, Libra girl, what do you do when there's no depth in a marriage, when he isn't deep? Well, if you look at my mom's example, and this is just one person, everybody can handle it differently. You stay in it, you get your needs met somewhere else. And I'm not talking about sexual needs met somewhere else. But doesn't it connect to that though, you guys? If you don't feel connected to someone emotionally, I had a guy, who was it? Just recently, client, real, just salt of the earth, good man. You would think he was the most macho son of a bitch you've ever met, right? Tough SOB. Tough SOB, and he made yes. And he had, in his younger years, he had, hired prostitutes and escorts and so forth. And he was a middle-aged guy. And he said to me, Sven, you want to know what the worst sex in the world is? In my opinion, I said, how do I say no to that? This sounds salty. Come on, let's go. Fucking A. He says, Sven, the worst sex in the world is sex with a prostitute. I said, what? What the fuck is that? He says, oh yeah, it's sex with a prostitute. I said, okay, I have to hear. Why is this? He says, Sven, and this is a tough son of a bitch. This is a macho dude. This is a manly man type of guy. All right, you got the image in your head? He says, you want to know why? Because there's no emotional connection. The very last fucking answer you would expect from a guy like that. He says, there's no emotional connection. So when Libra girl asks the question, what do you do when there's no depth in a marriage, when he isn't deep? It's affecting a lot of things. That inability, that longing to connect with someone at a deeper level is extraordinarily powerful. And when you get it, the bonding is incredible, right? This is why some people fall in love with their therapist. First person in their fucking life they can be deep with. And there's something that moves the soul when you share that. We've all had it. Or many of us have had it in life where you connect with someone at a deep level and you fall in love with them. We were so connected in the beginning of the relationship. We had these long conversations. We were just so connected at a deep level. Exactly. And now you can also understand, people, how emotional cheating is actually cheating. You're bonding with someone at a deep level. You're in love with their soul and you feel loved at the depth of your soul, the power of emotional connection, right? Right? So imagine being in a fucking marriage and you don't have that. You can go through the mechanics of everyday life. You can go through the mechanics even of sex. And sex, for some people, it's just like, hey, I get off, man. Right? I get off on it. It's fucking great. God, this feels so good. I love sex, sex, sex. But for a whole lot of people, without that connection, it's just like, eh. Of course, that raises the question to that guy who said worst sex in the world is with a prostitute. I said, well, then, forgive me for asking the obvious question, then why were you paying all that fucking money for prostitutes? He said, oh, for me, Sven? For the 3 hours leading up to the sex. Because once we had the sex, I always felt like shit afterwards, but the 3 hours leading up to the sex, and I said, what's that? The companionship? He says, no, it's not just that. It's that for 3 hours, I had somebody telling me I was good, I was great, I was a nice guy, that I was charming. And I knew she was just doing it for the money, Sven. I knew that. Just like any other guy knows they may not love your body. They're having sex with you for the money. And that's understood. And I was fine with that. But to hear those words, Sven, the words of affirmation, for those of you that like the love languages talk, right? To hear those words, Sven, was balm to my soul. I said, that's right. Because you never got that shit from your old man. You never got that shit from your mom. Just the criticisms. Exactly. Wasn't the sex. So, but the point is, back to your point, Libra girl, what do you do when there's no depth in a marriage, when he isn't deep? You have a few choices. Get your emotional needs met with a therapist or good friends. You obviously have the choice of moving on if that's something you really want and you don't want to have a relationship where it's lacking the deep connection. Or you can do what my mother did, just stay in it. Get your needs met with friends and so forth and accept that this is just not something my partner can bring, but I love my partner for all these other things, and I choose to stay. But you haven't chosen yet, Libra girl. You haven't made the choice yet. And see, this is why, guys, I'm a former pastor, and I've done a lot of weddings in my day. Performed a lot of weddings. Been in a couple of two ex-wives. But one of the things that I teach people when I would do premarital counseling is that the commitment to a marriage is a commitment that's made and remade daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. And if you choose to walk away, you choose to walk away. That's your choice. That's your choice. Everybody knows that it's an option. But it's your choice. And Libra girl, you are in a position right now where you're having to choose again. Do I choose to stay? And if you choose to stay, you have to make the best of it. Then it's going to require, you've tried. No doubt you're saying, there's no depth in a marriage and he isn't deep. Okay, so you've tried everything you can. You can't make someone be who they aren't. But you also don't have to be who you aren't. And so if you're going to recommit to this marriage, you've got to ask yourself, is there enough in this marriage that keeps me enthralled, that makes you want to stay? And if so, then you've got to find other ways to get your needs for depth met. All right, next question. Joy 2.0. All right, so this is a revision of Joy. This is newer Joy 2.0. How do you calm yourself when you can't control your emotions overcoming you and become angry? How do you calm yourself? Trying to calm yourself, this goes back to something I talk about in my book. There's a hole in my love cup, okay? And what I say, one of the chapters is actually entitled, Trying to Change Behaviors Never Changes Behaviors Long Term. Okay? Trying to change behaviors. In other words, trying to change your actions and what you're doing up here on the surface, trying to change your reactions to things, trying to change what you do in social situations if you have a little bit of a fear of strangers, or trying to change your behaviors never changes your behaviors long term. You want to know why? Because you're just changing behaviors. Unless you change the core beliefs down here, driving those behaviors, you're going to snap back just like a rubber band. You're going to snap back into those old behaviors. The core beliefs have to change. At some point, whether you start by trying to change behaviors and hoping that core belief will then change, or if you just drill down to what your core beliefs are, address that. Once you do that, by the time then it comes to the point of action, once it comes back up to the surface, the change in your behavior patterns from what you were to what you're naturally now doing or inclined to do is radical. So you ask yourself the question, Joy 2.0 asks, how do you calm yourself when you can't control your emotions overcoming you and becoming angry? Trying to calm yourself is you trying to change your behaviors in that moment. No, you got to go down to what the root cause is. And the root cause that is causing you to, just become overcome with emotion and instantly spill out anger, which is a common thing for a lot of men, especially, right? That's the default of so many men, right? Women too, but especially men. What this means, Joy, is that your love cup is fucking chock full of so much shit, so much pain, so many bullshit messages you've gotten in your life about what a fucking piece of shit you are or how you're disappointed. All this crud, rocks and manure and crud have been stuffed into your love cup. So that now, even if there's one fucking drop of stress, one fucking drop of negative energy that drops in there, you instantly spill out, right? It instantly spills out as what? I mean, imagine me. I've got my cup of Starbucks coffee this morning. I went and got my mocha. All right, non-fat, no whip, half calf, 180 degrees, as I always get it. And it's chock full, literally to the top, with piping hot coffee. Literally to the brim. The meniscus is right at the top. And now I put it on a coffee table, all right? If you try to drop in one more drop of fucking hot coffee, of fucking orange juice, anything, you put in one drop and it's going to spill, right? Because there's no room left in the inn. Take your little pain baby somewhere else, right? So you drop in one drop, it's going to spill out. But here's the thing. It doesn't spill out on Steve, who's standing over in the corner of the room. No, it spills out on whoever is closest. You try to pour in, not just one drop. You try to pour in some pain. You try to pour in a really stressful day or a hostile work environment or a partner who's just doesn't fucking connect, doesn't understand, or is mean, or a child or adult or whatever, your own parent. You put in more and it's going to spill out. And it's going to spill out on whoever is closest to you. See, that's the thing. Our shit always spills out on the ones we claim to love the most. And that's the incentive to do your fucking healing. But here's the other thing. Even if no new pain gets put in there, imagine that cup is on the coffee table. And now someone agitates that coffee table. Someone shakes it. What happens? The hot stuff spills out and scalds people, right? So even anything agitating you. So when Joy 2.0 asks the question, how do you calm yourself when you can't control your emotions overcoming you and you become angry? How do you calm yourself? No, you go into the fucking cup and you start pulling shit out of the cup. All that crud that got packed in there, the messages, you suck, you're not good enough, you're not wanted, there's something wrong with you, you're always at fault, the real you doesn't matter, nobody cares about you, you're unimportant, you're unlovable. Until you go down deep into that shit, which is why all my work is focused on the deep work. All right? This is the deep shit, motherfuckers. This is the real shit. To be badass means go down deep into the sources of your pain, the sources of your behaviors that you don't fucking like. And until you go deep into that shit, no amount of trying to fucking change behaviors is going to stick. It's not going to motherfucking stick. So you don't try to calm yourself. I mean, sometimes you got to do that, right? That's a short-term coping mechanism. But as long as you're coping, you're not healed on anything. As long as you're coping, you're not healed. All right. So you have to go down to what the fuck? Where are the pain points in my life? What are all the memories I have that have emotional charges attached to them? And you got to go in. You got to talk to your therapist. You just do it on your own. Fucking journaling, man. Writing it out, flushing it out in paper, not just up in your head. All y'all that just want to do your fucking counseling or your self-help up in your head, doesn't work. You want to know why? Because it's still in you. Most effective tool, if you're going to do it on your own, well, I teach a few of them in my book. There's a hole in my love cup. And I make some referrals to other tools that you can use. But the one I come back to most is just plain old journaling, pen and piece of paper. And writing letters to people that you do not send. But you have to start flushing that out. And by you doing that, what you're fundamentally doing is you're getting those rocks and the manure and the dog shit out of your love cup. And the more you do that, then what are you fundamentally doing? It's emptying. Therefore, it now has greater capacity to receive love, and you'll begin to feel love inside when you give yourself love or others do, but also you have greater capacity to handle more shit. A very dear friend of mine said to me this week, almost exactly what you just said, Joy 2.0. She said, Sven, everything's setting me off. Everything is I have never, and this is a woman in her 50s. She said, everything is fucking setting me off, and I've never experienced this in life before. I've been stressed, and, I was in, she reached a high level in her work in academia. And I've, all sorts of different stresses, but I've never gone through something like this. Family member in an extreme mental illness and another family member dying, and then her own just grief and shit that she hasn't dealt with. And she's like, Sven, I'm just fucking overwhelmed. I lay in bed. I don't want to get out of fucking bed. I said, that's exactly right. Because all that shit in your love cup is finally piled up and it is calling you down. Your soul is calling you down. Depression is the soul calling you down to finally go inside and heal the shit. It's not a curse. It feels like a curse. And I, as you know, I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression. All right? It's not a curse. It feels like a curse. Fucking right, it does. But it's your soul calling you down to finally go in and heal the shit. Do you have the courage to go into the shit that you've been running from your whole motherfucking life? To finally heal it. You've been running from this tidal wave of all your pain, your fears, and your bullshit beliefs you've been taught about yourself. And until you turn into that and allow that tidal wave to hit you and to begin to flush it all out, to begin to get out all the deaths that you've dealt with, all the losses, all the hurt, all the horrible treatment you've endured, whatever it is, until you do that, you are not healed and you will not have the peace that passes all understanding. You will not have the joy that you seek, 2.0. You will not move to 3.0 until you do that. All right, next question. Any advice on cutting off friends? Yes, the advice on cutting off friends. The biggest thing that's going to inhibit you is your own shit going on inside of you. Your own feelings. Feelings of guilt, feelings like you're bad, feelings of what are they going to say, what are people going to think, all right? So the more you just keep flushing out your own feelings, the greater clarity you'll have, but also the greater strength you'll have and ability to do it. And flushing out your guilt. No doubt you're going to feel some guilt. No doubt you're going to feel some sadness after the fact, missing them. Because they've been your friends for a while. And yeah, you're obviously, if you're thinking about cutting them off, obviously it's become where it's not fun anymore. But that doesn't change the fact, and I don't mean just fun, it's become not good, toxic or whatever, all right? But that doesn't change the fact that you probably still have some warm feelings. One of the biggest challenges for me after I divorced my second wife, first wife divorced me, I divorced my second wife. One of the biggest challenges for me, a year later, I realized I wasn't moving forward in my life. And, you know, this is fucking, 25 years ago, whatever it was, 20 years ago. And I realized what was keeping me stuck wasn't anger towards her or sadness. It was love. I realized that I still loved her. I knew we couldn't be together. Just the chemistry, it was just flammable, okay? But I still had such strong feelings of love. So I had to flush out the love in my journaling, in my letters that I wrote to her that I didn't send. It was love. So it's not, you guys, and this is really critical to understand. I think I put a post up on this, and that it's very important for you to understand that in your journaling work, in your self-work, in your work with your therapist, the biggest problem isn't always your negative feelings, the feelings of pain, the feelings of sadness, the feelings of anxiety, of fear, of rage, of anger, of hatred. It's not always. Oftentimes what keeps us most stuck is our feelings of love, our feelings of longing, our feelings of missing someone, especially when it comes to parents. The child longs. I had a client just yesterday, or no, a couple days ago, whatever it was, fella, early 60s, still longing for the love of his aging and now dying parents. Still longing, despite all they had done to hurt him. And he never talked about it with anyone. He wasn't like, oh, as people say, victim mentality. No, but with me, I'm like, you fucking were a victim. By any definition of the word, you were a fucking victim. And he just still wanted their love, their approval, their confirmation of his worth. Yeah. And so it was his love, his longing that's keeping him still stuck, and it gave them power over him. And when someone has something we want, they have the power to make us miserable. So he's been wanting it, and they've been running him ragged his entire life because he still wants their love. And so what keeps us often looped in, stuck, hooked into a relationship, a person, a life, a career, is that we love it, but it's killing us. So you got to flush out the love too, guys. All right. And Robin Pedersen asks a very simple question. Do you feel your book and workbook would work as well as a therapist? Listen, I'm going to be very honest with you. If you got a great therapist, ain't nothing better than a great therapist. I'm going to be really fucking honest with you. Ain't nothing in the world better than a great therapist. Okay? But finding a great therapist, well, that's the other thing. And affording a great therapist is another thing. I wrote all my materials. I had to get myself out of a 12-year suicidal depression. You guys have heard me say that before, right? I couldn't find a therapist that would help me. Some good ones that had a good question here or there, but none of it was just like accelerating my work out of that, really getting down to the deep shit. And I had to figure it out on my own. All right. And I had to find my own way out. I read roughly 1,000 books in all different fields, from numerology to psychology, from theology to fucking architecture. It had nothing to do with it. It was just an interesting book, from all sorts of shit. looking for insights, looking for tools. And I basically ended up having to create shit myself. So all of my counseling method over the last 30 years, most of it is based on the work that I've done on myself. I never recommend anything, even one exercise in my book, unless I myself have used it. Unless I myself know that it fucking works for what I'm recommending you use it for. All right? All the tools. These are all tools that I've created, or they're a blend of somebody else's. I recommend like 9 other books. At the beginning of my book, I say, listen, if you don't want to read my shit, just fucking go with those other 9 books. It's going to take you so far down the road. So the question was, do you feel your book and workbook would work well as a therapist? If I'm really honest, yeah. It's fucking good shit. Do I recommend getting a therapist? Yeah, I do. But if you don't like therapists, or you've had bad experiences, or you can't afford one, or you're on deployment overseas, or you're just a private person, or whatever your fucking reason, you can do so much of this on your own. I am a huge believer. I'm like the world's biggest believer in self-help. I really am. Because I had to do it myself. I had to heal myself, guys. And my shit is, based on my shit and 30 years of counseling people. So yeah, I do. I do absolutely. But no book, not even mine, not even, the gurus, that have been around forever, Deepak Chopra or Wayne Dyer, whatever. Even their shit ain't going to do shit unless you're willing to open up. I tell every single client that I have, I only need you to bring one thing, and that's the willingness to keep opening up. Because the moment you shut down, or you put up the walls, or you refuse to go to hold my hand as I lead you into that dark cave, and in the words of Joseph Campbell, my favorite author, the cave you most fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. If you don't take my hand, if you don't open up and be willing to go down that cave and let me lead you and guide you and help you, there ain't shit I can do. There ain't shit any therapist. You ask any fucking therapist, if they're resistant, ain't shit you can do. I've literally had people who don't come back for a second session. I've had people literally who at the end of the session say, I'm not going to discuss it. Or in session, no lie, I had one just a couple of months ago. She said in session, keep the rest of your money. I'm not going into this shit. And she clicked out of the session. We still had like 2.5 hours left of the session. Now I refunded her money just fucking because that's how I do business. But point is, and some people are so resistant, so scared of the shit inside of them, they don't want to look at the ugly, nasty shit of their life. If you are not willing to go into your shit, if you do not keep opening, ain't no therapist, ain't no fucking tool that's going to fucking help you. So yes, can my book heal you? Yes, it can, but you got to have the willingness to go in and do the deep work. And in my book, as I always tell people say, Sven, I got the book. I'm like, excellent, good for you. Now, be sure to do all of the exercises in the book and do them in writing. It's not a concept book. My book is not just a concept book. The best self-help is not just learning concepts. It's pen to paper. It's flushing this shit out of you. You got to do the fucking exercises. And that's where we separate the men from the boys. Do you have the courage to go in? All right. To that point, Carrie Ann says, with the help of books, journaling, watching TikTok, church, Al-Anon, and trauma exercises, I healed myself. Now, I love that. I love that, Carrie Ann. Fantastic. And I'm really proud of you for doing it. You got to admit, that's a great little comment, right? 20 years ago, or someone saying, yeah, church, TikTok, yeah, they both helped me. It's like, what a lovely juxtaposition. All right, next question. Here we go. Johnny, 84 Playmaker, asks the question, do you think nowadays a therapist or a self-help coach would be a better option for people? So I hear you asking, what do I think is better between those two? And I'll be very, very honest with you. Are there some great self-help coaches? Sure. I'd like to think I'm one of them. Okay. But if I were to choose, I personally would feel it out and just see how each one feels as self-help coach, and I'd see how a therapist feels. I generally tilt towards a therapist. Why? Because if they've not only got the experience and the knowledge, but they've got not just the knowledge, but some experience, it's just, they're just going to be more skilled, because in order to become a therapist, you have to have X amount of counseling hours under your belt already. I don't know. A lot of people don't know that. You have to have hundreds and hundreds or even thousands of hours under your belt of counseling before you can get that master's in counseling or that PhD in psychology, in counseling psychology or whatever. So these are people who already have experience. Now, they may be a bit green, or maybe they haven't integrated their own life and self and so forth fully. But I personally would tilt towards a therapist. I'm a believer in therapy. I'm a believer in, the power of great counseling. I really am. But then I also know there are great self-help coaches out there. And so you got to feel it out, sort of one by one, case by case. I did a post just this week, and I want to bring this up on this. And I said, one of the questions that I recommend asking if you're interviewing someone to counsel you, you're considering using someone, one of the questions I would ask, and I would expect someone to ask it of me before they counsel with me. And I make sure, I actually say it explicitly even if they don't ask. But I would ask them, do you get results? Oh, you want to watch someone squirm? And even if you say to the person, I don't need you to guarantee results. I just need to know if you get results and what those results look like, what they have looked like with clients. And then the next question would be, and generally speaking, how long does it take before you get some significant results? On average, over the course of all the clients you've worked with, on average, what would you say is the amount of time it takes to get some significant results? Because I'm going to be very honest with you, I have to get a new sump pump on my sump pump, a new pump on my sump pump in the basement. I do. And the guy that we use to put that in, we literally asked him, do you get results? Is this going to work? Now, a plumber can offer a guarantee, right? And now a therapist isn't likely going to offer you a guarantee. I offer them if someone wants them. I'm happy to put my money where my mouth is. I'll give you a fucking refund your money, okay? But most people aren't going to do that. But you have every right to ask. This is a business transaction. You have every right to ask, do you get results? Again, I don't need a guarantee, but do you get them? And what do they generally look like? And how long is it going to take? All right. Now you're going to, do you get a straight answer? And they may respond, I'd like to think I do. Good. Do you have, what have been some success stories? It's basically you asking them for referrals. Now they could lie out their ass, of course, but you can ask them to tell you what some people have, what some of those results are. Okay. You have every right to ask that. So if you're looking for a therapist, ask those questions. Do you get results? What do they look like? And generally, how long do they take? Because to be very honest with you people, transformation can be immediate if you go deep enough. This is not shit that has to take years. It really isn't. This is stuff, generally my clients, 3 to 4 months, they're with me. And they're opening sessions, 6 hours, follow-up sessions, usually 4 hours, 2 hours. It just has to be more than 2 and less than 4, or 4 or less, right? And we work together and it's intense. I give homework and I go deep and I drill. And if you've ever listened to any of the counseling sessions on our show, that's how I work every day. Right? But it's going deep, going deep, going deep. And so if you got someone who can push you and push you hard, but compassionately in a loving way, but still work you and they have good shit, you can get results very, very quickly, people. All right? But the truth is you can also heal yourself. And again, that's what I've created all these fucking tools for, to help you do it yourself. Why do I need to know the why of people's actions? Well, first of all, why helps us understand, right? Why did they die? Or why are you leaving me? And so forth. It helps us understand what's going on. And the truth is, oftentimes we want to know the why. Very often we want to know the why so that we can fix it, so that we can get them to change their mind. Why are you leaving me? Because this, and this, but I'll do better. And I can do this and I can do that, right? And the hope is that I'll be able to keep them. But very often that something doesn't, we can't let something rest until we understand it. Well, why was my son shot? In the drive-by shooting. Why? And why, God, and so forth. And a lot of clergymen, and clergy persons, when they do funerals, say, don't focus on the why. But whenever I do funerals as a pastor, I'd say, definitely focus on the why. Keep focusing on the why until you find your why. And you're going to grow into a why. You're going to do it even if you try not to answer why. Because we're trying to find order in the universe. Even if it seems like there is no order, maybe your why will be there is no why. But you have to come to that on your own. But if you need to know the why of people's actions, because I'm betting when Sam's Odd asked this question, because you're wanting to know if it's about you. Likely, it's possible you've gotten messages in your life that say it's your fault, you're no good, people are treating you this way because there's something wrong with you. And you're wanting to know, is it me, is it me, is it me, is it me? And that means you've been conditioned in part to believe it is you, it is you, it is you, it is you, right? And so what you need to do is go down and inside yourself and ask yourself, is this because I believe that I'm no good? Is this because I've been conditioned to believe that I'm not good enough or I'm at fault? You need to go down not just into why you want to know the whys of people's actions, but also what would it give you if you did? And then what would happen inside of you? And what would you try to do? In other words, you're sort of reverse engineering it. Let's say I found out the why. Well, then what would I do? Then what would I feel? So that implies you're not feeling that now. That implies you're not doing that now, which means there's some message hidden inside that why that you're trying to find. Last question right here. Authentically me, ask the question. I have the same recurring theme replaying. I've been working on myself for a long time. Now, there's no question stated, but the question is implied, it seems to me. You wouldn't have stated that unless you're thinking, I just commented on working on things a long time and so forth. But you're saying this recurring theme, and I've been working on myself for a long time, you say, right? And I get people saying this a lot. Sven, I've done the work, I've done this and that, but I still am stuck in this place, right? Because you haven't gone deep enough. There is something deeper. There is always, if you're stuck, it's because there's something deeper. And it's either something you don't want to touch or you can't see or you don't want to see. So if we're in session, and this is an insane question, but if you are a client and we're in session, I would say to you, you say you have the same recurring theme replaying in you, and you've been working on yourself for a long time. I would ask you this question. In all of your work on yourself, what is the one thing you don't want to deal with? You don't want to address, you don't want to look at, you don't want to think about. Now, the truth is, if you've actually done all the work, the answer would be there's nothing. Nothing at all. But the truth is, more often than not, the person will say, well, I've avoided thinking about my mother, or I don't want to think about when, my first, fucking husband left me, or when my kids went off to college and I was all alone, or whatever it is. I can't, you've got to ask yourself, what is the pain you're not wanting to touch? Because there is the piece that is still unhealed that you really need to go into. And the deeper you go into that, why is it painful? Or you can attack it from the when direction here. This same occurring theme. When did it happen? When did stuff shift in your life? Start with when, and then ask yourself, and you may say to yourself, well, it was 2004. Well, why 2004? Why not 1999, or why not 2006? Why that year? What happened that year? Oh, well, that was when blah, blah, blah. Now we're starting to unpack the fucking equation. You have a recurring theme replaying inside of you because it's unresolved. There is something inside of it that you need to ask yourself, write this out in your journaling. What is this recurring theme trying to teach me? What is unresolved in this recurring theme? Write it out and speculate the answers. Guys, in your journaling, you have to begin to see journaling as play. I see counseling as play. We're playing around with ideas. Like a little boy or a little girl plays with a bug on their hand. They let it run over their hand. They let it crawl down there. They put it on a stick. You're just playing with an idea. And the more you allow yourself to play, sort of brainstorm without editing, the more new ideas will crack open. Okay? But you've got to ask that recurring theme. What are you trying to teach me? What am I not seeing? What am I afraid of seeing in this recurring theme? That's always a whopper. But it's playing with it and asking it questions and then being open to potential answers, flushing it out, and then asking further whys and whens and what fors. So that's going deeper inside of this recurring theme. Well, folks, that was quite an episode. And I have Rob back in studio. He looked at those technical difficulties. We still haven't figured out Facebook. But alas, Rob, thoughts on the technical difficulties and the show?
Did you miss me? I mean,
we always miss you, Roberto.
You seem to do okay without me. I'm feeling a bit superfluous.
I think we can all agree that this show don't happen without Rob. So you're hardly superfluous, my friend.
Except that it just did.
Right. It just, no, not true. We can't start it, can't end it without you, my brother.
I'm here.
Yes. And any words of wisdom at the end of this day?
Let's see. Is there someone you're loving them so, but taking it all for granted? You may lose them one day. Someone takes them away, and they don't hear the words you long to say.
Oh, man. And who sang that?
Bread.
Oh, yeah. Right? Classic. Well, you know what? We're going to just play a little bit here. We're going to play, Rob.
Okay, let's play.
Here's a question from Cat Lover, and I'm going to give it to you because I know you're a cat lover. We have Carly, the studio cat, in here somewhere.
That's true. She is.
Right. And Cat Lover asked the question, Rob, you want to play with this one? That's a yes. What is the best question, Cat Lover says, what is the best question to ask when you're wanting to start writing?
When you're wanting to start writing.
Yeah. Originally, I thought it said journaling, so I'd throw it to you, but you're
okay.
Are you? I don't know if you're a writer. You've written things in your life. What's the best question to ask when you're wanting to start writing?
The question is, what novel is inside of me? I believe everyone has a novel, a thought of a novel, a story, germ of an idea inside of them. So go inside yourself and decide, what is the story that I want to tell? Maybe it's a nonfiction story, or maybe it's totally fictional. But I think everybody's got a book inside them. You need to go inside, figure out what it is, and then start.
I agree. And just keep writing and Don't let that inner judge destroy it. Just let it be plain, flush. I don't edit until months after I'm done writing. I don't edit at all. That's how I write. Everyone's different. All right. And someone else says their question is, tell me what you're feeling in this moment and then let it flow. That's great too. And a cat lover says about journaling now. Okay, so what's the question you should start with, Rob, if you're going to sit down to start journaling?
What is the latest thing that got stuck in my head that I need to work out, and put that right down first?
I love it. And then I would offer follow up with, and how does that feel? And what hurts the most, etc. Awesome questions. Good job, Rob. He comes in to hit the dinger at the end of the game, puts it over the fence. Come on now. That making me look like a schmuck here. And I am a schmuck. I just don't want people to see it.
You know the literal translation said, take it easy.
What's the literal translation of a schmuck? I don't know.
We'll let our listeners look it up in the Yiddish English dictionary.
All right, fair enough. And then the final question from Beans Nation is, what's the mantra for today? Rob, any thoughts?
The mantra,
what's your mantra for today?
I'll tell you what it is. Roto-Rooter Sewer Service. Roto-Rooter Sewer Service.
What the fuck is that? No, that's not the mantra. Although if we take that metaphorically in your soul, in your self-work, yes, yep. Roto-Rooter Sewers. Go in and Roto-Rooter your soul.
I'm not kidding.
Okay, my mantra that I'm giving you guys for today, you know what? Here it is. It's not just going to be your mantra to yourself. It's going to be the mantra that comes out of your pie hole when you're down in the checkout line at the grocery store, when you see your buddy on the street, when you are at the laundry and somebody lets you use their laundry machine first, and then at the end of it, you're walking away after you've chatted for a little bit. What I want you guys saying today is not have a good day. I want you saying have a happy day. Have a happy day. And it's so different from have a good day. Everybody expects, have a good day, have a good day, have a nice day, have a nice day. No, have a happy day. All right, let's throw just a little bit of sprinkle life with just a little bit of happy today. All right, you guys? All right, this has been a great show. I fucking love you fuckers. It's so great having you here. I love you, you badasses, you fine fucking people. On behalf of my team here, Rob the Rocket and KC in the booth, have a kick-ass day.
The Badass Counseling Show is strictly copyrighted. No copies may be made without the express written consent of the Badass Counseling Show, LLC. The Badass Counseling Show is produced by Karen Camparelli and Robert H. Friedman. Executive producer Sven Erlandson. Original music by two-time Emmy Award-winning composer Trevor Morris. Have a kick-ass day.